Welcome to episode number 59 of People Talk Fanatics. I am here with my co-host, Chris Kern, and uh, we welcome you to a new year, and uh, we are full of stories of this past couple of days of hoops, and I'm excited to jump on it. So, welcome.
Definitely, yeah. Been a fun couple days of basketball, getting into conference play, really getting the swing of things for some teams, and we've already had some great games that we'll be able to dive into. A lot for this weekend as well.
We will be recapping the Xavier at Nova game, which happened last night. Also recapping the Colorado State game against New Mexico, and much more. Let's start with the Xavier and Nova game. This game was a really interesting game, especially down at the stretch. I felt like Xavier got the best of Villanova this game, even though Villanova got the win. But I think that the takeaways in this game is that uh, Jordan Logino was the player of the game in the last 6 or so minutes of the game. He was just really uh, locked in and had great opportunities of shots that put Villanova into position of winning.
Definitely, yeah. Just like from a box score perspective, Eric Dixon only made 2 shots. He got to the free throw line, so he didn't necessarily get his typical production. Bamba didn't do a ton. And you mentioned Longino, he couple big plays down the stretch. But I think one of the takeaways for me is definitely you got a couple guys off the bench who really produced. I think you mentioned it on our Twitter. Hakeem Hart had 14 off the bench is super big for him. As I think he's a guy that they're going to need to be able to rely on as they head into Big East play and get into these. So every game's going to be tough. Like this is the home game against Xavier, and it's probably one of your easier games you're going to have this conference season. So being able to find a way to win is super key. But also Brendan Housen, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that last name right. You probably know more about him than
Yeah.
I do, but getting 4 threes from him off the bench is super. It's big for this team, and I don't
Mm-hmm.
know if he's who's been producing much at all this season. So being able to get a guy like that step it up in conference play in a big tough game when some of your starters aren't shooting the ball as well, it's super big because he was 4 for 7. The rest of his team from 3 point range was like 6 for 23, I think. So like they
Mm-hmm.
didn't knock down shots consistently, but having a guy off the bench you can count on to hit a couple threes is super big. And I think that kind of helped them offensively and allowed some of the guys like Joey and Eric to make some big plays as well
Mm-hmm.
without having this too much stress of like they off nights shooting for them, but they were all able to come together and do enough to win, and that's what matters this time of year,
Yeah.
especially for a team who's been inconsistent like Villanova,
Mm-hmm.
who and honestly it's just like who cares how they look like every single night, like they might just be an inconsistent team for the most of the season, but just find ways to win games and continue to get better. And they found a way to win last night, and I think you just got to give them props for that and not really dive into
Mm-hmm.
too much of the some of the offensive issues they had.
I mean, if it feels like the defensive effort that Villanova has is a plus in the past 4 games they played. I feel like just the momentum of down the stretch with the amount of physicality of defense and especially Eric Dixon in the low post, uh, really getting the rebounds. And I just feel like this defense is top notch in the Big East Conference this year, and they can really surprise people.
Definitely, like there's a lot of really good offensive teams and offensive players in the conference. So it's being able to get it done on the defensive end is how you're going to win a lot of these tough games. And it's how Villanova has won a couple of these tough games. It's how they won at Creighton, and I think it's the reason when they won last night against Xavier.
I think things will tell what this Villanova team is when they visit Marquette on MLK Day.
That'll be a big test for them. So they got
Yeah.
that. Marquette's probably, I would say, they're one of the best teams in the conference, and see how Villanova stacks up compared to them, because the win at Creighton was really good, but I think we've seen Creighton maybe not quite living up to the hype overall. So we'll see. But I think Marquette, they were dominant in the Maryland Invitational. They didn't win it, but like they've shown on the national stage, they were one of the best teams in the country. So that'll be definitely a big test for Villanova.
So let's move on. Before we recap the Colorado State game, I wanted to talk about the news uh that came through today. I think John Fanta was the first one on it. About Providence losing Hawkins.
That's a tough loss for them, because he's been a star for since he's been in college at both places he was at, Kentucky, and then at Providence he's been really good. So
Mhm.
that's a tough loss for them. I think we all kind of knew when we saw it happen that it was probably a season ender, unfortunately, and unfortunately that got confirmed today by Fanta and many others. But
Mhm.
just it's a tough loss for Providence, because I felt like they've been playing some good basketball, but I just don't know. Like, obviously his health is the most important thing, and like it really sucks for him. But like there's also the team aspect of how good can Providence be. Don't really need to dive too much into that yet. Just hope see how the team rallies around this, and if they can overcome some of the deficiencies that issues they may have on the offensive end, especially. I think, but
Mhm.
obviously, just prayers go out to him. Terrible, because he's a guy who's came back, and he's been just a stud, one of the best players in the Big East since he's been at
Mhm.
Providence. So unfortunate he got hurt early in conference play.
Uh, what are your expectations for them for the rest of the season?
It's not super high, honestly, but I th I think they can still be pretty good.
Mhm.
I like what Kim English has done with that squad. They've been playing good basketball. Um, I'd even check. Did they win last night? I don't think they
Um,
did. They lost, I'm pretty sure, by
I
a
think they
couple.
did.
I think they lost by a couple. And that's a tough one.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, you lose them and you aren't able to find a way. They did. They definitely lost by a couple. I don't remember the score, but it was at Seton Hall, I'm pretty sure.
they play. They
There's
play.
just
This weekend they play at Creighton.
That's a tough one, but Creighton has shown some issues on the defensive end, so we'll see if some of these guys can get more confidence going and step up, because
Mhm.
it's not good. It's the schedule's not going to get easy for them, so it's not like just survive a couple games, find a way, and then win a couple easy games when you get them. Like there's not going to be any easy games in
Yeah.
the Big East. Like they're going to be outmatched and probably have less talent than most of their opponents now. So they're gonna have to find ways to really rally together and play smart basketball, find ways to make timely shots, and really get it in on the defensive end, I think, which I think they can. And I think they'll surprise some people. And I think
Mhm.
they'll surprise me. I think they have that what it takes to still compete, maybe be an NCAA tournament team. You don't want to set like too high goals for them, but like just see how they can compete the next couple weeks, and then we can kind of reevaluate expectations for them. But
Mhm.
I think they're still going to be a tough playing at Providence, especially. I think is still going to be very tough for teams. So definitely not like teams can just look at them like a super easy game on their schedules.
I'm just looking at their schedule. They have at Creighton on Saturday and then at St. John's next Wednesday.
It's tough going couple. Wait,
Yeah,
at Creighton this Saturday and then at. That's
yeah.
tough. That's a lot of road games in a row. Were they home last night?
And then their next home game is Saturday the 13th
Dang, that's good. Yeah, that's a tough
against
little gauntlet.
against Xavier.
Yeah, so I mean that we look at the schedule like that's one theoretically you should win, but like it's if home Xavier's still a good basketball team. They haven't been as good this season, because of
Mhm.
injuries and whatnot, but Villanova saw it's not an easy game to beat, as Villanova saw last night. They found a way to get it done, but Providence is going to be in for a couple tough weeks, I think, and
Mhm.
hopefully they can adjust to life without him. But I'm a little concerned, but we'll just see. Don't want to put too much pressure or expectations, but just see how they can kind of rally around this because he's a stud, one of the best players in college basketball. So it'll be interesting to see how the rest of the season goes for them.
Mhm. So up next is the most intriguing game of the week. Colorado State, New Mexico. This was a very high level basketball game. And I really liked how Colorado State just defended New Mexico. They also went on a run, and I really like how Patrick Cartier led the New Mexico. But besides that, I really like this Colorado State team. They are for real.
This Colorado State team is really, really good. New Mexico's really good too. Like New Mexico's an
Hmm.
NCAA tournament team as well. Like this was a fantastic basketball game. But Colorado State has shown us in a couple big games this season that they are very good on the defensive end. Against Creighton on Thanksgiving Day, they absolutely throttled them. They blew them out, and they had like just some of the worst shooting performances I've ever seen from guards of that caliber. Just insane defense from Colorado, and the offense is really picking up, and they're scoring the ball inside, getting the free throw line. They could gang rebound collectively. Clifford had a double double. Isaiah Stevens is one of the best point guards in the country. I think a lot of people know about him, but he's not quite getting the national love as he should.
Hmm.
And then you mentioned Cartier, big 21 points against New Mexico. But I do want to shout out Jamal Marchburn Jr. He's a stud for New Mexico. Alice JT Toppin's been really good. He had a double double this game. So like this New Mexico team has a lot of talent, and I think
Hmm.
they're going to win a lot of games in the Mountain West Conference. And I would need to check the schedule. I assume these guys have a rematch later in conference play. I didn't check that beforehand. Hopefully they have it. Hopefully they do. I'm sure they do. There's not a lot of teams in the conference, so I think it's basically a round robin. But either way, a lot of big games for both these teams in Mountain West play. Because there's about 5 or 6 NCAA tournament teams in this league, so there's going to be a lot of good basketball.
Oh, I just checked. Their next rematch is February 21st.
So like that'll be later. Probably a big game for conference
And
standings, conference title race.
the game is at New Mexico.
Sweet. So they'll have that one, and then who knows, maybe a third meeting in the conference tournament. So that's how good these teams are. Because we'll just see. Colorado State, I've been big on Colorado State the past couple
Hmm.
seasons. Last year, the big disappointment with some injuries, but they really were really good in conference still. Isaiah Stevens really carried, and I'm glad he stuck around with them because
Hmm.
he's the caliber of a player who could have transferred probably almost anywhere in the country. So really cool that he stuck it out there, and they have a great basketball team, and I'm really excited to see how they kind of develop the rest of the season. But they are dangerous on, especially the way they get after you on the defensive end, and they have guys who can make shots and score the basketball in some different ways. They're a team that can go on a deep NCAA tournament run, but they're going to be tested in Mountain West play, so we'll kind of see how they kind of figure that out as we go through the schedule.
I'm definitely going to try to live stream somehow on one of the stream websites because there's no actual channel for it. The Utah State against Colorado State game this Saturday.
Really, it's not on any channel.
No, I think it's
Lame.
going to be on the uh Big West network or something.
Oh dang, that's the only bad thing about this. Oh, that's really disappointing. Dang. But
I
yeah,
meant
it's
I meant to say the Mountain West network.
that's I don't even know where that would be. But yeah, that's a big game though. I'm definitely gonna try and watch that as well. I'll, I don't know if I'll be able to watch much of it, but I'll definitely follow
It's
along.
at
That's a big game.
Yeah, that game is at 9 p.m. Eastern.
Nice. That'll be a big one.
Yeah. I haven't really watched Utah State that much, but they looked like a really good team with a 13-1 record, and I feel like this could be anyone's game if Utah State uh makes makes it interesting.
Oh, I definitely think Utah State could beat them. I don't know. I feel like I watched Utah State once, but I can't remember it.
Hmm.
So I don't want to try and talk and act like I know about them because I don't. But I've just heard a lot of good things about them on like Twitter and
Hmm.
some different news articles I've read. But definitely, that's a big time matchup, and love to see Colorado State kind of get tested early on in conference play. They were tested in non-conference too, for sure though, and they won most of those games. So it'll be interesting to see how that one turns out.
Apparently, I think Utah State beat San Francisco last month.
Nice, yeah. San Francisco's a good
Yeah,
team.
they won by one.
Dang, that's a good win though, for sure.
Yeah. So let's move on to a crazy game. I think the game was at Miami.
Yeah,
When Clemson lost to Miami. Um, I'm just looking at my notes, and Clemson had PJ Hall, who had 17 points but fouled out in the final minutes of the game, and that really stuck a hole in the scheme they had.
yeah. They kind of made it. I was watching a lot of the second half. I watched probably the first half too. He he had a little bit of foul trouble that limited his minutes a little bit. He fouled out
Hmm.
so it didn't really matter, but I think he got his fourth foul a little bit earlier, I think, than he would have wanted. So that kind of limited how he played a little bit. But
Yeah.
just it was a really interesting game. Sorry to cut you off if you're saying something, but like Miami's offense is just nasty. 95 points, 60 second half points. Do you know how many bench points Miami had?
How many?
They had zero. All 95 came from their five starters. They were missing a couple players. Um, I'm trying. There was Poplar. Oh, I'm trying to. I'm sorry. I'm gonna get it wrong.
Hmm.
Who was out? But it was one of the main guys who played last year for him. I think Poplar transferred. I don't think it was him. I'm really blanking on who. One of their starters, was the key guys was out. But Nigel Pack had 25. Matthew Cleveland, that was such a big pickup for them in the transfer portal. He had
Hmm.
23, and then O'Meara had 23, and then they had two guys with 12, the other starters. And it was just insane. Just the talent on this team. They're going to be primed. They could win the ACC. I think they are loaded,
Hmm.
and this is going to be a dangerous team in the NCAA tournament. We saw it last year. They get after you. They can score the ball. They play fast. They have big athletes. So they can hang with you inside. Will we see how much they can kind of do that because like they're not super big, but like they have athletes. So I don't think the
Hmm.
lack of size is any issue. They could really shoot the ball. Nigel Pack's one of the best scoring guards in the country. Matthew Cleveland's such a versatile athlete, and they really get after you. They really make you play at their pace most of the times, and it's hard.
Hmm.
Most teams don't have the offensive firepower to put up 95, especially
Yeah.
on the road and a spot like that. Clemson's been really good offensively this year, but they don't have quite that firepower. And they were up six at halftime, so like they kind of did their thing, but in the second half, it was all like Miami just they sped it up. There was just
Hmm.
60 points in the half is crazy in a college basketball game, and
Uh,
it was just awesome to see.
the thing that stood out to me was Clemson shot 31% from beyond the arc, 8 of 26. And they had their worst shooting game, conducting just 3 of 9 3-pointers.
Yeah, that's tough. Miami only shot 24 threes, so like I was talking about like big leagues, but they made 11 to 24. Miami
Hmm.
made 14 to 15 free throws, so they capitalized on those. Clemson made all nine of their free throws, so like there wasn't a lot of like in the free throw line anything. But putting away the game,
Yeah.
like looking at a box score, it's like Clemson they weren't great, but like there wasn't a terrible offensive performance. It's just
Hmm.
when it comes to match of possessions. They just didn't quite have enough offensively to make it up. Like, 'cause they shot 45% but Miami shot 53. So like the defense just wasn't quite there for Clemson, and that might
Mhm.
be an issue for them moving forward. We'll kind of see. But Clemson still has a lot to look forward to going into ACC play. These might be the two best teams in the conference. Duke and Carolina are really good as well, but like these two are fantastic teams that can compete with anybody. So getting this matchup early on was really exciting, and we'll see how
Yeah.
Clemson bounces back.
I just wanted to add one quick thing to this segment. I was watch. I like to watch the show ACC PM. I don't know if you heard of it, but it's every weekday from 4 p.m. until 7 p.m. on the ACC network. And what stood out to me was last night they made a prediction of like what ACC men's team uh, you think has the chance to make it to the Final Four. And they picked Clemson.
I like it. I like that. I don't know if I see them as Final Four good, but I mean this Saturday they have a big matchup against North Carolina, so we'll see. We'll get into that more later, but like see how they really match up against the best teams in the ACC
Hmm.
before I really think they can do that. But I mean they're a really good basketball team. They have a lot of pieces. It's
They
cool the
could
ball they defend, but
they could for sure win the conference.
they're definitely in that mix. But this
Yeah.
Saturday is a big game for if they start. If they lose both these games this week at Miami and home against Carolina. Maybe they're not conference winners, but like the schedule will get a
Hmm.
lot easier after this week. I need to look, but like there's not a ton of group games theoretically left, so they should be fine. But finding a way to get Saturdays would be big. But definitely excited, and I think they
Yeah.
have a chance. I definitely think they have a chance at Final Four, but I definitely wouldn't expect it or anything.
Hmm. Um. So let's now preview the TCU KU game as well as Nova St. John's and Purdue, Illinois.
Sweet, yeah. Kansas, I just TCU. They haven't. Their schedule is really weak this
Hmm.
season. So I don't really I think Kansas should win pretty easily. It's at home Allen Fieldhouse. They've been a little up and down this season, but I think they're the much better team.
Hmm.
Um, roll into conference play. It's first Big 12 game, so I think the energy is going to be high. It's still a Christmas break game, so I mean Allen Fieldhouse will be rocking still, but it's not going to be quite maybe what you'd hope for and expect. But big conference game gets started. Try and win the Big 12. Houston's a big threat in the Big 12, so you got to take care of business every single game, especially at home against these teams. And I think Kansas will do that. I think they win by double figures. But TCU has a few players, Jamil Nelson Jr., Emmanuel Miller. On SU days, returned to Kansas. He was our backup big last year. He's starting for TCU now. So we'll see
Hmm.
what kind of production he can give. But super excited to see that matchup. But I definitely think it's a Kansas win.
Are you
Um,
going to be at that game?
I will not be at the game. I'll be at the Kansas State Central Florida game that evening instead.
Hmm.
So excited for that one. But wish I that the Kansas game, but I'll be at a couple more this later this month as well. So, but yeah,
Yeah.
definitely big game for Kansas.
So let's move to a very intriguing game tomorrow night between Illinois and Purdue. What do you like about this matchup?
Big one. Illinois, they really impressed me their last game. They forward the ball really well. I don't remember who it was against. I just remember seeing Domask had like 30 in their last game,
Hmm.
which I was really impressed by because they're going to need that guy who can just go off and get a lot of buckets. Yeah, he had 32 points against Northwestern. Um, this is not going to be an easy game for them. They're still adjusting life without Taylor Shannon. This is a really good basketball team still, and they definitely
Hmm.
can still compete in this game. But going on the road to Purdue, I don't see them winning this game. This is a big game, though. I think Zach Edey obviously provides a lot of mismatches, but I'm looking at it more from an Illinois perspective. Win or lose, Purdue will be fine. We know what Purdue is. Really good team. Edey's a stud. The guards are coming along, and I think they're getting better production from there than they have the past couple seasons
Hmm.
with Edey. So I'm not really worried about them either way. But I think the focus is on like from an Illinois perspective. It's not even just like win or lose, whatever. But like they got to continue to get big production from Domask and Coleman Hawkins and some other guys, and continue to really find ways to score the ball because they've been a lot better this season than I expected.
Mhm.
And I still think they're top 25 caliber team for sure. I think still, and it'll be interesting to see what kind of fight they can put up. There's no more victories, but you want to come out and play really good basketball and just give yourself a chance to win that game on the road.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm really interested to see how Coleman Hawkins matches up against Purdue offensively, but that should be a very entertaining one to start off the weekend. Um, and lastly, let's preview a big one at Villanova, which will be a 1 p.m. Eastern tip-off on Fox between St. John's and Nova. So I'll give my thoughts on it, and then you can add yours. Um, just knowing that Villanova is playing without Justin Moore, I really like the way they are just competing offensively, uh, making TJ Mamba, Jordan Dogino, Eric Dixon, Hakeem Hart have really good opportunities throughout the perimeter, and especially inside of the paint, where Eric Dixon is efficient enough to absolutely uh, do some damage. And I know that he had an off night last night against Xavier with only 9 points, and I think it was like 6 rebounds. But I really want to see Eric be Eric and have the ability to absolutely uh, make more noise offensively than the the last game he played.
I definitely agree. I think this is a game Villanova should win. And just piggyback off your last point a little bit, this is a game I would like to see Eric Dixon be a little more assertive. Um, Even if he struggles shooting the ball a little bit, I'd like to see him just continue because he's their best player, especially
Mm-hmm.
without Justin Moore. He's got to be the focal point offensively. And I feel like there's been some time this season where he hasn't been. I still remember we talked about it. I was at the Kansas State game. I felt like he was pretty much a non-factor, and they relied on 3-point shot a lot, which they have some good shooters, but like
Mm-hmm.
he's a guy who I think can really take over basketball games against
Mm-hmm.
most teams in this conference. So I'd really like to see him be more aggressive and really. There's a lot of different. I'm not gonna act like I've watched every game, so like aggressiveness might not be what's causing things. There's things the defenses are doing probably to really limit him, but finding a way to get him touches around the rim, and he's also shown he could really shoot the three ball. So if that's what it takes to get him comfortable, let him hit a couple of those, maybe
Mm-hmm.
get him going. But it's really, I think, feature him more offensively is something Villanova needs to do consistently, and
Yeah.
especially in some tough moments, or at least go to him in some big moments. I don't know what they did down the stretch against Xavier. Maybe they did do that. You mentioned Longino. Sounds like he's made the big shots, but like especially in some big moments, I really like to see Eric Dixon get the basketball.
Mm-hmm.
Because he definitely, I remember, I think it was the Creighton game, I believe they went to him down the stretch and he got them
Mm-hmm.
into overtime, I think, and then won the game for him. And against North Carolina, he was dominant earlier this season. I think in a couple, probably their best games is when he's had dominant performances. I'm not like he needs 30 points every night, but like 15 to 20 and a couple big shots when you need him most. I think is something that he can do every single night, no matter the opponent. And I hope he does that on Saturday.
And I wanted to add, he's definitely a game changer at the free throw line. Um, he's just excellent in the clutch moments at the line, and that's huge for Villanova down the stretch in these type of games, particularly. But I just feel like the way they're playing right now is just elite, and I feel like they can really go into the new year, which they have already, and beat the best teams in the conference, and the first game of the new year in conference play. I just feel like Marquette is a really solid offensive team, and I'm I'm very interested to see how the Villanova defense can make Tyler Kolek and also I forgot how to pronounce his last name. Iguodala, I think.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think that's right.
those two are the main guys that I'm interested to see how they do against a very talented defensive system in Villanova. But just sticking with this game against St. John's, um, I'm really anxious to watch this game. I think it's going to be a high. I mean, every game is a high level game, but this game particularly is going to be bouncing for sure at Nova.
Definitely, yeah. Big chance, big time atmosphere. Get a big time win and keep rolling in conference because they're over there they should 3-0 in conference right now, and who knows, just keep piling up wins and see what happens.
Mm-hmm. So I'll talk a little about Princeton, St. Joe's, Virginia, and Tulane. So I'll start with Princeton. Um, last game they traveled to Delaware and only won by 2. Um, it wasn't the most best start to the new year, but they definitely locked in and came out with a win. But I really like how Princeton's Caden Pierce is playing. He's had 21 points and 10 rebounds last game against Delaware. And the thing that I want to see is Princeton holding the lead more and not letting anything go, because last game Princeton had a 16-point lead at halftime and just literally blew it. And I'm really worried of the second half of the season of blowing leads, but I just feel like anything is possible with this team, and I jotted down 2 notable games to keep an eye on for Princeton. The first game is January 20th at Columbia, who is 8-4 on the season, and January 27th at Cornell, who is 10-3 on the season.
Nice, yeah, definitely. It's a big opportunity for them coming up. I think you mentioned the Columbia game, and definitely, I think Princeton. It's always a fun storyline. You guys follow it more than I do, but especially
Mhm.
after how last season went, once the NCAA tournament, and just continue to see what happens. They've been a great basketball program recently, so it's really fun to see them continue success and continuing to pile up wins early in the season. And Ivy League play is always a fun conference to follow. It
Mhm.
doesn't necessarily get all the hype, but these always really solid basketball teams going at it. So really cool to see Princeton at the top of that list right now.
Yeah, it's going to be a really fun down the stretch in the second half of the season. So moving on to St. Joe's. Last night they played at Rhode Island and lost by 4, 78-74. And I'm just doing an overview of the team, and I just feel like Then Grill, Xavier Brown, Eric Reynolds II are phenomenal for St. Joe's. And they got some great shot selection perimeter players. And this team in the Atlantic 10 can absolutely make noise. And it's going to be a very interesting time of the year where St. Joe's has been great all year long, and I'm uh and I think last couple of weeks of the month, they have a gauntlet of a schedule. I know their next game is at St. Louis next Wednesday, and then they have to play like five teams in a row that has like 7 or more wins, and it's going to be a tough stretch for them.
Definitely, yeah. That whole conference has definitely improved over the past couple of years with conference realignment. Because I feel like that's a conference where a lot of teams are like they're not Power Five, but they've been some pretty good basketball programs have kind of fallen into, and it's been super exciting to watch. And yeah, you mentioned they got Loyola Chicago, Duquesne, St. Bonaventure has been really good traditionally. So just a lot of tough games for them coming up, and it'll be interesting to see how they kind of do through all that stretch.
Yeah, that team is really fun to watch. If you're definitely in the Philadelphia area, I would suggest you people out there to absolutely go see a game. It's a great arena with great fans and a great squad. And so second to last is Virginia. They've been pretty decent this season. They are 10-3. I mean, I think they are 10 and I have to double check. Um, 11-3. So they lost to Notre Dame on December 30th, which was a brutal loss for them. And then they beat Louisville last night by at least 20, which is a good sign to the new year of being a really efficient team. And what's really going to tell what this team is about is Saturday's matchup at NC State, especially with the game being at NC State. I'm really anxious to see how Virginia responds to their win last night.
Definitely, yeah. That's gonna be a tough game on the road. NC State's got some good players. They just it's not gonna be easy for them. But yeah, you mentioned it. We talked about that Notre Dame game already. That was kind of embarrassing, honestly. But they bounced back. Louisville's been pretty bad, but you take care of business. You're not. Who cares who it's against? Just find ways, play good, get the win. So interested to see kind of how the rest of the season shapes up for them. But they're you got to trust. I think you just got to trust Tony Bennett to find a way to make his team competitive, at least as competitive as they can be. I think.
Like once the conference tournament rolls around, do you think that they have a chance to beat teams like Clemson?
I don't personally, but I think the goal for this team's got to be just make the NCAA tournament. I think that's a realistic goal, and I think it's within reach. But I think they're a step below kind of the Clemson, Miami, Duke, and Carolina group. Yeah, just like I just don't. The defense has kind of not been as great at times, I think, and
Yeah.
just the offense is not good on most nights, and it's been really problematic for them. And I think that's why we've seen a couple bad losses that you typically want to expect from a Virginia team. But definitely a lot of chance for improvement. I think Saturday's a good chance. You got NC State's got a few good players, and Casey Morcell, DJ Bones. I got some other guys, but those are kind of the main two, I think. And it'll just be interesting to see kind of how they kind of mix and match and piece things together.
Yeah, that should be a cool game to watch. And lastly, I'm gonna talk talk quick about Tulane. Um, they started off the new year with a win against Rice, 84-59. I know Rice is not a great team this year. They are 6-8, but Tulane got that win. And the most intriguing game that I'm looking forward to is January 11th against Florida Atlantic.
That'd be a great game. That'd be
Yeah,
awesome.
the game is at Tulane.
That's a big
Yeah.
one. Florida Atlantic has shown they can be as good as almost any team in the country. We saw in their win against Arizona. They
Hmm.
played really good in Orlando, Texas A&M. They beat and a couple other really good teams. But we've seen when they're not locked in and they don't shoot the ball well, they get beat. They lost to Bryant and Florida Gulf Coast. So it's the team really reliant on perimeter shooting, which
Yeah.
you're not going to shoot well every night. So if Tulane can play some good defense, kind of make use of different things. I've seen a couple different teams like zone them, play a couple strategies, different styles,
Hmm.
a little more pressure, a little more just kind of let them get to their spots even. There's a lot of different things you can do defensively, but just get them out of a rhythm, make them hit tough shots. We've seen them make tough shots, and when they do that, you're gonna lose no matter how good you are probably. But just just really kind of try and control the game from the defense end of the floor. I think Tulane has a great
Hmm.
chance to get that win.
Yeah, yeah. I really like how Kobe King, Sion James, Jaden Forbes is playing offensively. Uh, this team can really shoot and can give teams problems instantly and have a big impact on their resume for later in the season once the tournament rolls around. And this Tulane team is absolutely locked in, and I feel like they could beat anyone at any time.
Definitely, I agree. All the talk in that conference is about Florida Atlantic and Memphis, and rightfully so, because they've been two great basketball teams, two probably top 15 teams in the country. But Tulane's a team that can really put some pressure and really hang with both those teams, I think. And I think I, they've been close the past couple seasons to being near the top of the conference, but I think they have the pieces this year to really make a run and maybe it'd be really competitive with those guys.
Hmm. So our next segment is games of the episode. We will be doing 5 games again, and I was the one that picked it for this episode. Um, I'm just see 1 second. So the 5 games is Purdue, Illinois, UNC, Clemson, Ole Miss, Tennessee, Colorado State, Utah State, Marquette, Seton Hall. So I can go and pick mine if you want, Chris.
Sounds good. Yeah. I'm trying to double check all their home teams first.
So I'm going to go with Purdue over Illinois. Um, and then I'm going to go with Clemson over UNC. And let me check something. And I think Tennessee gets the win over Ole Miss. Um, and I'm going to pick Colorado State and Marquette.
Nice, nice. Yeah, definitely agree with you. Purdue, I think Purdue's gonna win. I want to take North Carolina on the road against Clemson, actually. I think they're playing great basketball.
Hmm.
I think this can be very telling about both teams. Up and down, we'll just see what happens. We'll definitely have to recap this one when we get to it.
Hmm.
I think Tennessee wins as well over Ole Miss. And then I'm gonna go with Utah State over Colorado State. That's gonna be tough. That's a tough place to play on the road, and I think Colorado State is going to be trying to struggle a little bit offensively. And then I'm going to go with Marquette over Seton Hall.
Mhm.
Got Purdue, UNC, Tennessee, Utah State, and Marquette as my 5.
Mhm.
Definitely not. I think we both picked Marquette, but at Seton Hall it's not going to be super easy. So I think that's an upset alert maybe to watch as early Saturday morning, kind of see how that game shapes up. But definitely some great basketball games.
Actually, now thinking about it, I'm going to go with Seton Hall.
I like it. I debated it. We saw Seton Hall. They beat Providence a couple days ago. And I
Mhm.
think Marquette's been a little bit shaky to start conference play, but I just trust their star talent a little more than Seton Hall's. But
Mhm.
definitely could see that upset happening.
Yeah, sounds good. It's definitely going to be an awesome weekend of hoops, and we'll definitely find a time to do our 60th episode. Maybe sometime in the next 2 weeks or so. And looking forward to it.
Definitely, yeah. Just a lot of great basketball this weekend. I'm definitely pumped for, and we'll definitely have a lot to discuss whenever the next episode comes.
I don't know if you saw any of the slates for next week.
I have not actually looked ahead too much.
Uh, we could definitely text back and forth about it once Monday
We'll look.
hits.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be exciting. But yeah, I
Yeah.
honestly have not. I've been so focused on this weekend and NFL kind of winding down. I've not really looked ahead at all. I don't walk any basketball games next week. So
Mhm.
I have the week off. So I honestly have no idea who teams play. So we'll just so many good games this weekend. I'm just gonna enjoy it, and then we'll figure out what to look forward to next week for me.
Yeah. Uh, so before we end the show, I just wanted to uh, let you know that to forward me the picks you picked for the 5 games, so
Definitely, I
so
will
I
do
can
that.
I'll start to tweet it out so we know
Good call.
uh
I'll text it
who
to you
picked
right
who.
now, so
Okay,
I do not forget.
sounds good. This has been episode 59 of Hoop Talk Fanatics. Enjoy the hoops.